But if you have a focus, if you have a singular purpose, and you know that you're rightfully living in your purpose, when you hit those walls, you can fight and scrape and claw your way over them because you have a vision of what is truly important.
Mug Club's for closers.
But I really appreciate it. And, to full disclosure, listen, I'm still coming back here. It's a long process. I was burning the candle for too long and didn't really take into consideration what I actually needed to. There's been a lot of rumors. Don't have AIDS. Don't have cancer. I said I don't have cancer. Look, it sounded like he said he has cancer. I swear to you.
I heard cancer, guys.
Okay, here's some other things I've been going on. Since I've been gone, this whole there's CRTV is what it was. Now there's a Blaze with Glenn Beck. Things happened with Gavin. Listen, this is Mug Club. We're funded by you, the viewer at Mug. So let me tell you, I had no idea about a lot of this stuff going on, okay? I've never worked for the Blaze. I don't work for the Blaze. This is something that is separate, where we actually allow you to get more value for your buck in an agreement with CRTV, I guess now the Blaze, where you get more content. I didn't know about the Gavin McInnes situation until you did. And let me be really clear. Gavin McInnes has an open seat, an invitation to work on a permanent basis here on this show if he wants to. He knows it. And now, by the way, also do his own show. I doubt it, because not only of contractual issues, but he's in talks with other places, as he should be, by the way. He's a very valuable commodity, and he likely doesn't want to move. But I want to be really clear. I love Gavin. As far as I'm concerned, if he wants to work here or with us, all he needs to do is say yes. And the same, by the way, we just talked with Jordan Peterson. The same goes for the rest of you who've been bludgeoned, censored, banned. We can now build an army. It's not just Louder with Crowder. The whole purpose to Mug Club is we can create more content. You want to work? Come work here. And no more tin cups. We're not rattling around especially tin cups that are emblazoned with Patreon. It's not even your cup. We've talked about this for a long time. It's not to insult anyone who was on Patreon, but effectively, you are begging people for money on a platform that can be taken away at any second. We, because of you, don't have to do that anymore. We're incredibly fortunate. In an industry like this, just like any industry, really, a lot of things can happen behind the scenes, okay, that some people can't know about. So, for example, we've never used Patreon for reasons that are now apparent. We've never done super chats on YouTube for reasons that will be apparent. I've been warning against this for a long time when it's not your cup. You want to support this show? You join Mug Club. That's it, period. louderwithcrowder.com/Mug Club. Because no one can take it away from us. That's it. Ever. No one can snatch you from our hands or us from yours. We know exactly what we're doing. Well, I shouldn't say we know exactly what we're doing. We know exactly who you are. We know exactly what the priority is here. And that's what I do want to talk about, priorities. We don't know exactly where we'll be a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, but I can tell you that we'll be there, that this will be there, that you can support us, that we will be creating content for you, because Mug Club is ours. It's not Patreon. It's not the Blaze. I like Glenn Beck. Friend of mine. Good guy. I have no idea what decisions go on that don't directly involve our program as it stands right now, especially when I'm effectively fighting for my life with health issues. It hasn't been at the top of my list. Let me give you, there's some things, you work in companies, and I'm sure you're a person of industry. Probably some unemployed people here are like, oh, that was a cheap shot. But listen, you can better yourself. We've had some people in this company do some things that have affected the program that I'll never talk about, okay? Out of respect for them, and because some of them don't want us to. The same thing, though, has happened everywhere I've ever worked. And that's happened everywhere you've ever worked. I can never promise you that I'll always be happy with the changes that are outside of my control. For example, Gavin, right? Or I can't promise that you'll be happy, or for that matter, with changes that are outside of our control. The only thing I can promise you, not only on my behalf, but everyone here at the Louder with Crowder team, is that we will always focus on creating content for you. The fans, the viewer, the listener, period. That's all I've ever done. A lot of people say, I just had to do the art for me. That never even occurred to me during this break. What occurred to me was getting healthy so that I could do this program properly for the people who deserve it. You deserve this program. I talk a lot about entitlement. I know that people shouldn't feel entitled to programming, but you've earned it because you've paid us to do this show for you. And we owe it to you to do it correctly. I mean, this has been going on my whole life. When things happen behind the scenes at PJTV, where I worked, a lot of people who aren't familiar with PJTV, this is back when I had a blue bed sheet background. I focused on creating content as opposed to the drama behind the scenes. When behind the scenes, Fox News, when I lived in New York, they had drama going on like the world's biggest high school. I solely focused on you, viewers, fans. At that point, I think it might have been 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, period. When everyone else was getting into pissing contests on YouTube. You've heard about that. Why don't you sound off on this? Because it's not worth my time, it's not worth your time. When everyone else was getting into a Schwanson measuring contest, this whole team here instead decided to focus on creating content for you, the viewer, period. When I worked for a year and a half, driving across the entire state, by the way, to do a radio show that was syndicated, I had own people on my payroll, was never paid a dime. You can go back and listen to this show. When it was syndicated across Michigan, and eventually I think 15 markets, never made any money. We came really close to curtains. We didn't talk about it on air. We focused on you. At that point, no viewers, just the listener, period. Creating the show for the listener. When other things have happened here behind the scenes, a Louder with Crowder, some things you can never know, and some things that tear me apart inside, like a million hacksaws trying to rip out my gut, I've just tried to focus on creating content for you. And when things happen behind the scenes outside of your control in life, or outside of our control going forward, we're always going to be focusing on content, period. You know what? I don't want to toot my own horn here. But the promise that I'm making is backed up by a pretty long track record that I'd encourage you to look up. The same thing happened when I did stand-up. You know, Matt was here for the show. When I did stand-up, I remember I did a show at Champlain College. I was starting stand-up comedy. We were doing a show for Thanksgiving turkeys, okay? And what happened was the show was on a Saturday, and there was an open house on the following Monday. The school kicked us out because the people who had the open house for the following Monday said, we technically have it for the whole weekend. We said, well, do you need it for the whole weekend? They said, no, but we think you might make it dirty. And what did I do? I actually hired a third-party cleaning company and proved that we would leave the place cleaner than we found it. They said no. Turns out they didn't want the show to happen. We got booted from that school. What did we do? Johnny Boy, our producer, can tell you, he was there. We actually kept the show, because we had to spend $800, which at the point was a ton of money, to rent a theater across the street from that school, Champlain College. The school across the street was De Rocher. You can go either Du Rocher or De Rocher. Don't fact check me on that. I don't remember. It wasn't my school. They wore really weird uniforms. I wasn't into it. We had to rent out that school, and we had people with signs in front of the school that kicked us out, directing them across the street because we couldn't not do a show for people at that point who had not only paid for it, but given money to charity. And it's a lesson that I've always tried to apply to every aspect of life. And here's the thing, it's not just about the show, you can too. I learned that yes, you need to prepare, you need to organize, you need to have contingency plans, we've talked about that, but there will always be obstacles that will form against you, things that don't go as you expect. Sometimes curveballs are thrown at you, and they can be really, really hard. I've had a few lately. But if you have a focus, if you have a singular purpose, and you know that you're rightfully living in your purpose, when you hit those walls, you can fight and scrape and claw your way over them because you have a vision of what is truly important. You usually can get it done. And sometimes, by the way, you will have to accept that you can't. And I had to do that recently. I had to say, you know what, I can't do this as well as I need to do it for the viewers because I'm not well. But guess what? Until you've done that, you couldn't possibly know what can't really is. Until you've hit a wall that you thought was something you couldn't overcome, and you did, and then you hit the real wall. It's like a twister in a thriller movie, right? It's a twist. It's a curveball that's thrown at you. But you have to know how it ends so you know what a curveball actually is. You have to know what's insurmountable versus what you can actually control. 2018 was a really hard year. Let me tell you this. So this is just be as straightforward as possible. Can't give you all the details. Year of curveballs after curveball after curveball. Deep personal loss. There were some tragedies that can't necessarily talk personal. It wouldn't be appropriate to talk about on the show. Even some blinding physical pain that I was struggling with. We talked about this. A lot of times men suffer in silence. I did that. It was stupid. It was stupid of me to do. 2018 will probably go down as one of the hardest years of my life. Of the lives of many people here, by the way. There are people who moved across the country to work here. There are people who had no experience in some of the job positions where they are, but just had an attitude and grit and had to push so hard that now they're seeing at the end of the tunnel. It's light at the end of the tunnel. But you know what else? Yeah, it was a hard year. It'll also go down as the year that this program grew exponentially. That this program pulled past late night shows on networks in viewership, in influence, in scope, with a fraction, by the way, of the budget of just the other hosts' salaries. It'll go down as the year, 2018, that Change My Mind was invented. It'll go down as the year that Louder with Crowder, this show, you guys, surpassed the Young Turks without tens of millions of dollars from a foreign caliphate. We did it by selling freaking mugs. Think about that for a second. And by reinvesting What you generated in the movement, what you've created, every single one of you watching, listening, and supporting through Mug Club, we've been able to have these accomplishments, even in a really tough year. It'll go down as a year that people like you not only made your voices heard, but that all of you now, we talked about this with Jordan Peterson, are being heard on the same plane as the voices that have dominated the entertainment industry, media, and big tech for decades. Not for decades, since its inception. There has never been a time in media or in big tech that was not dominated by far leftists. 2018 will go down as the year that your voices, that our voices were no longer marginalized. I want you to think about that for a second. A couple of years ago on YouTube, let's just go with YouTube alone. If you searched for something, anything that was going on in the news, you were bombarded nonstop with only one voice, that of the far left. Not only the far left, but the voice of presuming, by the way, that all viewers searching were leftists by default. There wasn't even an alternative. And all of you, okay, all of us, we were just considered fringe. They tried to fit all of us conservatives, what do you want to call us? Libertarians, constitutionalists, federalists, whatever it is, red pillars, you name it. Racists, homophobic, sexist, bigots. Then alt-right was a big one they tried to do in 2018. But in 2018, 2016, sorry, that was the election. Gosh, it's only 2 years away. Well, I guess technically it's going to be 3 soon.
It's getting there.
It's getting there. But think about that. In 2018, for the first time, you search, you see Young Turk's video, we're there. CNN pushes a lie, we're all right there. Zuckerberg has a summit, we're there. YouTube pushes the YouTube Heroes censorship program, we're there. And guess what that means? If we're there, you're there. And for the first time, we're all there every bit as loud as the voices of opposition. Personally, 2018 will go down not as only a hard year, but a year of breakthrough. Breakthroughs with my wife, my family, breakthroughs with my health, with this company. The point that I'm making here is that pain, the obstacles, the issues outside of your control that often hurt the most, they go hand in hand with breakthroughs. They go hand in hand with eventual victory. And if you can keep sight of that, if you can have a singular focus, if you know what it is that you were designed to do, if you can have the faith to know that breakthrough is around the corner, not only can you withstand the pain, but you can embrace it. You can count them all joy. That's why the blackboard here now, I don't know if we can get a shot of this, is etched, or I guess permanent. We use permanent chalk. I don't know if that doesn't qualify as etching, with one of my favorite quotes from Andrew, where he talked about being a happy warrior. He was the first guy who ever posted a video of mine beyond me having it on my YouTube channel. Find your purpose, is what I'm getting at. Find your singular focus, have faith in it, and embrace the pain. Embrace the struggle, and it can all be joyous. I don't know what 2019 holds. Hell, it could be harder than 2018. I don't know where Mug Club's going to be exactly. I don't know where this channel will be. We might not be here on YouTube. I only know that we will be in some capacity, period. And we will be focusing on creating content and serving you because we hear you. I hear you, and I and the people here are never going to abandon you. We might abandon Patreon, right? People should be abandoning Patreon. We're not going to abandon you. We can scrape together, fight, claw, scream, and bleed together and embrace the pain that comes with it, because with that comes breakthrough. It always does. 2019, you show up, we'll be there. That's all I can promise you. We'll always be there. Hey, did you like this video? What, you didn't? Oh, you're a cat person? Well, that makes sense. Disregard him and or her/Z. Everyone else, hit the subscribe button and leave your comment below as to why you like this video. Hey, you know what, Crazy Cat, you can get back. You can comment below too as to why you don't like it.